I did want to get your take on the World Cup discourse, Glenn, the North American World Cup discourse. There are Europeans crossing America. Sometimes I think these things are fake, but going to every Taco Bell and Buc-ee's and Waffle House that they seem capable of entering. And there have been some interesting reactions. One, is now being juxtaposed, I think, with, as we approach the 4th of July in the United States, elite media downplaying celebrations of the 4th of July very intentionally. Let's listen to one person from the UK. I don't think this even had anything to do with the World Cup, but it is reminiscent of many of the reactions to people who have been here during the World Cup. One person from the UK looking at American houses and the prices.
Does anybody in the USA want to adopt me as soon as possible? Because look at the price of an American house versus a British house. This is an average house in England. 400,000, 3 bedrooms, semi-detached. Look at it, it's nothing special. Then you have a look at the American houses for the same price. This is pretty much the exact same price. Look at it. Detached, 4 bedrooms, and look at the size of that. If that house was in the UK, it would be worth millions. So what are we doing in the UK? What are we doing? You can barely get a house here. You have to live in a cardboard box for your first house.
Now, 2 more things. Seattle Times has a big profile of some World Cup fans, one of whom's name is Lefkowitz. They write, "It's hard for Lefkowitz to imagine enthusiastically cheering against their opponents because he thinks Trump is tarnishing what it means to be American on the global stage. It's not how I expected to feel about the World Cup," he said a few weeks before the tournament. "I still want the U.S. team to win, but everything that goes with that, I'm conflicted." Now, Matt Taibbi did a little bit of a roundup of some of the media coverage. He wrote, "In the run-up to a 250th birthday to be held with Donald Trump in the White House, anti-American chic is everywhere." He was comparing this to Tom Wolfe's radical chic. He says, "As if the same history that was cheered for preceding Obama must be knocked for also preceding Trump. A Unitarian church in Nantucket is canceling its 4th of July celebration in protest of a recent Supreme Court decision. The Seattle Times is writing about locals having mixed feelings about cheering Team USA with Trump in office, and USA Today denounced our quote-unquote hateful and greedy nation. It's all keeping with the rhetorical own goal known as Trump wraps himself in the flag / Trump supporters view themselves as patriots / therefore America sucks." But Glenn, you famously hate America and moved away. So I wanted to ask you specifically, is this all elite media nonsense?
I terrorist attacks against the United States. That's how much I hate it. I didn't just move away. Yes. I think there's a lot going on here that is so interesting. Like, first of all, you just have that, complex that all human beings have, that the grass is always greener on the other side. Like, haven't you had that experience where you go visit a country for the first time and you're just blown away by everything that's different and immediately think it's so much better and start admiring it so much? I think there's some of that, right? Like, you live in London, you live in Berlin, suddenly you're in, suburban Texas, and things are so different that you see the parts that you immediately would love, but overlook because you're on vacation as well, where things are always fun. You don't have stress. Everything's positive and optimistic. I think part of it is that. I also think there's part of it that I think is a little bit, that stirs me a little bit, which is I think Americans, especially the ones who yell the loudest about our cultural superiority, actually have a kind of inferiority complex. The reality is that Europe's culture, European culture, and Chinese culture and Russian culture are a lot older than ours, have a lot more along the way cultural achievements in a lot of fields. We also have a lot of achievements that other countries don't have. But culturally, I think we've always felt kind of looked down upon, like, oh, they have the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame, and we have the Waffle House and whatever. And so to see some foreigners coming and saying, "Oh my God, I love the Waffle House. Look how amazing Costco is. They have all these different flavors." It kind of plays to this American insecurity that, like, oh yeah, see, we do have a great culture. Even the people who are coming from Europe are admiring what it is that we're saying. And like, ultimately at the end of the day, it's all very anecdotal. But like, I think part of what I kind of like about the World Cup, and I think this is really at the heart of it, is it stimulates a kind of nationalism in its most benign and almost even like noble form. It's like you root for your team, you root for your country, which really is irrational. Like, why would you care if the US soccer team wins or loses or it makes no difference in your life, but it's kind of like Glenn. A sense of, nationalistic community that has no real harm to it. It's not malicious, but it's like a sense of unity, which especially these days, is so lacking. And I think people crave that. And that's why the World Cup and things like it, the Olympics, whatever, have become things that resonate so much with people because you get to unify around your country, around the place that has most influenced you, but in a way that doesn't feel ugly. And I think that's what's so off key about people saying, oh, I'm embarrassed to be American because I have Trump. Like, everybody hates their government, everybody hates their political leaders one time or another. But it's still your country. It's still the place where you belong. It's still where your family and community and everything important in your life has. And there's nothing wrong with simultaneously disliking your president or even hating him, but still feeling pride in the place that kind of created you. And I think, like, at its best, that's what these kind of events do.
National Socialist Glenn Greenwald. No, okay. It's easy to forget the American standard of living, by the way, as it compares to the rest of the world. Part of this because of the empire, so that's a separate conversation, but it is sort of amusing to be reminded of the standard of living in the United States compared to some other, like, honestly, Western countries that Americans often do think of as, like, luxurious, wonderful, charming places, and they are. It's just a very different lifestyle than the American one, where you have detached garages and guns, and you can say whatever the hell you want, for now at least, without the police knocking on your door.
Right. I mean, but, like, there's always two sides to everything. Like, nothing is free in life, right? Like, so you live in a suburb, you have gigantic amounts of, like, flavored Doritos of every single kind you can imagine by going to Costco, and you don't have to take public transportation or walk because everything is done with cars. And there's kind of a freedom of that, of, like, consumerism. But at the same time, we have, like, an obesity problem because nobody walks anywhere and people go and consume enormous amounts of shit food that clogs their arteries. And so every culture has kind of something to offer and something to take away. Like, I think the only universal law of the world is balance, and, every positive thing has a cost, and vice versa. And I think that too is a lot of what you're seeing. Like, you can look at American culture and say, oh, it's so lowbrow and it's this and that. But obviously people who come here kind of look at it with envy because it offers things that, even if they want sometimes and not always, they just don't have.
This episode is sponsored by USA Facts, a nonpartisan organization making government data easier to access and to understand. I'm partnering with them on a campaign called The Data We Depend On. The idea is pretty simple. If the government is going to spend all of our taxpayer money and make massive decisions, it should actually have to show its work. How about that? That starts, of course, with reliable public data. Government data helps track the economy, spending, and education. You've actually probably heard me citing sources like the BLS, the IRS, or the DHS, but when that data is slow, incomplete, or hard to access, as trust me, it often is, lawmakers have less to work with, journalists have less to check, and the public has a harder time finding the truth. So if you care about accountability, you can't measure if programs are working or call out failure if the basic facts are buried. USA Facts is asking Americans to sign an open letter to lawmakers in Congress. The ask is straightforward. Use data to legislate and fix the data when it falls short. This is not a partisan issue. Whether you want more government, less government, or just a government that has to show its math, you need reliable facts. Read and sign the letter at usafacts.org/supportdata.